So Warno was early access of Warno was released, and I really wanted to give first impressions for a game. Cannot talk about the gameplay, how it changed from the Red Dragon and Steel Division, and give my feedback because this is really early access of the game. I just gonna play the 1v1 against AI. This is the hardest AI that doesn't cheat. Then there are harder, which cheats. Well, they don't see your units from the fog of war, even if some people say they do. But they just really have a very high income and so on. Alright, so I finished setting up my units, so let's just launch the game. And first of all, I really wanted to talk about just how the gameplay, overall gameplay changed from the Red Dragon and Steel Division. This is definitely something between the VAR game and Steel Division. Like it looks like VAR game, but when it comes to like unit interactions, it's more of on the Steel Vision's side. But also you have the choppers, missiles, and such. So it's a really interesting mix between these two series. Overall gameplay, the biggest changes I notice is the you have much less units as in the war game or even the Steel Division. I think the Normandy 44 has similar amount of units, but compared to Normandy 44, this game has much bigger maps. Like Normandy 44 would this would be map. This would you see would be entire map. So basically there is much lower troop density, so more space, less units on it. I think this is really good for this reason. Just give me a moment. Okay, why I think it's good is that it's definitely result in much more mobile warfare where uh, you can kind of do like cool flanking maneuvers. Maybe I gonna try something. I don't want to be too experimental here because it's kind of against AI and I just want to focus on the game. Okay. The smart orders are not the best, as you can see, but there are definitely big quality of life improvement. S- But as I was saying, the higher troop density, it's really improves the flow of the game and what kind of tactic and strategies you have available. Like there was one game when uh, I I started here and here and just push. Oh my god, I really winning this game really fast. I probably should stop winning because it's gonna be over too fast. The AI is really good and hard AI is definitely challenge when it comes to combat, but sometimes it just doesn't capture zones and it loses very quickly because of that. I really, it's really confusing to see that, but you know. So when I started the game on the opposite side, I push. This was against player. I pushed to the center and basically harassed his command vehicles on all these zones and kill like three out of 4, and it was a really cool game. And these kind of things wouldn't really be possible in the games like Red Dragon. Alright, gonna try to do it here. I'm just gonna send the motorcycle in BMPs through here. And we're gonna see how it's gonna play out. You know, maybe I'm gonna hand something on the Jot. Who knows? Yeah, this is not how you usually play the game, but I just don't want to win or lose too quickly because I will. Oh yeah, this is nice. Will I manage to kill it? Ah no, yes I managed. This is more of the still back on the AI part. It should definitely protect its common vehicles more. I believe they will improve it in the future. Yeah, but compared to Red Dragon, if this was Red Dragon, he would basically have front line like here, and people would just push front line, front and back, and that would be most likely the gameplay you would end up with, which some people prefer for sure. I personally didn't. I am I much more enjoy this kind of like mobile warfare where you can do these cool maneuvers like this, and this would work against most players. Like I see similar strategies, I use them. Was on the receiving end, so that's really good. And also air, gonna call just plane to kind of showcase it. Air was also massively improved. You can the AA is capable of protecting your units, but it doesn't like shoot down every air units immediately. You can like fly behind the enemy front line and not get shot down and have dogfights here or here. So that's massive improvement. One thing is the bombers are too weak. I don't think I have any bombers in my deck right now. Okay, enemy is winning, so I need to play a little bit better. Okay, let's send some things to the front line. My pet Nazis are killing the T-80. Okay, that's cool. Oh, it didn't die yet. Okay, now it's dead. Oh, shit. Oh yeah, my push with the BMPs was beat back. There is one, but the stroke is still alive, so I probably send it like this and try to get some cheeky kills with like that. Uh, Also, helicopter insertion behind the front line are much more viable than before, which love that. Another change I noticed: the units have much bigger survivability rate. Like time to kill is much higher. Gonna send the mic back. So in the end, it's really a good mix between the war game, Steel Division. Um, the strategies are more from the war game, at least European escalation. The unit control and interactions are more Steel Division. It's much because there is less unit and you have all these like quality of life improvement. Most of them don't work yet, and sometimes they even work against you. Um, to give you example, like when you right now I'm my orders are to go shortest way. It's a little bit too small, I think, but my units is ordered to move in the shortest way possible, but it doesn't. And it, like, look at this. This could kill this unit in the wrong circumstances. So I hope that it's gonna get fixed. Another issue is was when units are ordered to seek cover, they they're a little bit, how to say this, over motivated. Like they like move into the, let's say they you disembark it here, and you order it to seek cover. It will maybe come down here and get into this building, which you know you don't want to do that. Like if you disembark infantry here, it should get into this building if it's set up to seek cover. But I'm sure these kind of issues will get fixed eventually. This early access is much early in development than previous Eugene titles, so at least the ones I was part of the open, well, not open but betas. But yeah, no, gameplay, you know, it's not for everybody. There is a lot of Red Dragon players which are really unhappy with this game, but they will be unhappy with anything Eugene does. Yeah, i- it's definitely for the players who enjoy more. Let's just say this: it's less about micro, more about tactics, strategies. If that's change you like, that's good. If you want to play StarCraft, this will be definitely downgrade. Okay, well, that's how the whole game feels to play. Let's talk about some gameplay changes. One really great gameplay change is that you can sell your transport. So like this is 45 point transport. I just selling it. It's gonna come back to the spawn and then refund its price. There is a lot of transport which are basically just like trucks and so on, and it's good that they just you don't just, oh wait, enemies are winning kind of hard. I need to do something about it. I think it's much preferable that uh, you can like sell the transport and they don't j- just take up space, they take up your attention. It's much more elegant solution, I would say. And it also makes some units more viable than before. So if you have like, let's say, infantry with helicopters, helicopters are really expensive, and in Red Dragon people don't usually took them because it was just not worth it of that price. But now you can like buy like multiple helicopters, do like air insertion somewhere behind the enemy lines, and then get them back and sell them. I'm losing kind of hard. Also, if you have transport which maybe are there just trucks, but you really need to be mobile, you just keep them around and use them. Uh, pr Prices of the units are also really changed. Everything basically costs two times as before, but they also have like two times of income. But in general, infantry is much more expensive. AA kinda stay the same. Air is basically the same thing. And I lost. Yeah, well, I didn't put up much of the fight. Yeah, mm, the UI. There is a lot of complaints about UI. I think the icons in the game are pretty good. Maybe I gonna prefer the European escalation one or dragon ones when they get added. Maybe I gonna stick with those, but like this font is pretty bad. Really don't know why this font looks like it looks. And all right, let's look at the armory. There are right now two division. There is a division building system, so you don't have as much possibilities with building your deck as previously, but it also means that every when you fight somebody and you look at their division, you kind of know what to expect, and that's really adds new layer of the strategy because you can adjust your play for their strength and weaknesses. And I think that was really cool idea from the Steel Division. Obviously, frontline and phases system is gone. I didn't like those two too much. The phase system kinda, but the in the Steel Division 2 it got a little bit annoying, especially with the deck building. But yeah, let's just look at the units, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about their balancing and their role in the game. So super units, I don't really have, you know what to expect. I don't really have too much to say about it. Command vehicles. Right now you have, they are much less expensive. They are basically as expensive as infantry squad with some good transport, and you can have much more of them because you can also have infantry um, commanders, also tank commanders. They also they capture the zones and buff enemy friendly units around them. They add one to their veterancy, which veterancy is now really powerful. Like if you look at this guy and just look at these bonuses, there is no bonus here. There is 25% bonuses here and 50% bonuses on the elite. So, and most unit you can select from the all. You can select transport, so that's really cool. Yes, so having cheaper command units, I personally like that change because it makes sniping command units and just like cheesy play like heli rush is much less viable because in the red dragon on the beginning of the round you a lot of time had one command units. Now you have like three, and that's kind of balance it out. It's not really worth heli rushing in my opinion. Also AA is much cheaper, like Stinger's 20 points. uh, you can sell the transport, and so you can if you want to be prepared for enemy heli rush, you can get prepared very cheaply, and I don't think it has to bother you. Infantry right now is more expensive. One interesting thing, there is much more infantry with long range weaponry, and these are like 10-man squads, but they have dragon tools, and i it's interesting because all the short range AT infantry has is really shit. So like maybe we're gonna get divisions where the AT is more short range, but right now infantry usually want to engage tank at mid ranges, which is very unusual for how the Range Dragon was played, or even Steel Division especially was played. That was, you know, infantry only kind of fight tanks on the short range. Artillery right now is really big. I'm somebody who is really against artillery being like killing tool. It should be tool for damaging it and suppressing them, basically like soften up position. Only time when it should kill stuff if it's you really focusing your barrage on some position, or there are like support trucks and a healing infantry. Those should be like targets for it. Tanks work as tanks should. Now it you will also have in tank tab um, guided missiles. Not really much to say about them. Recon, also not much to say about it. It's much more viable now to use it kind of offensively to harass enemy lines, but also you need some recon in the back, no, well, not in back, but on the front line to spot targets for you. If you doing like front assault on some position, you need recon to like spot targets in the tree lines and such, so you can engage them on the big ranges. AA, there are plans to buff AA, buff their ranges and so on. I definitely think they need some buffs, but right now you can like use helicopters and planes much freely than in the Red Dragon, and I think that's a good change. But yeah, they should be buff, but careful with that, because if it's gonna end up like Red Dragon when any air units which like get close to the front line is immediately dead, that would be a big downgrade from the situation we are right now. Right now, the air units sometimes overperform, but at least like you can actually use them like they're supposed to be used. Like if it's fly over enemy AA, it does don't die immediately, and they are pretty cheap, which like it's okay. Like AA is not like something like tanks. I think it's fine. It's kind of cheap. Okay, oh boy. I have something to say about helicopters. People said that heli rushing is the even bigger problem than in the war game Red Dragon. I really don't know what happened to them in the game. I did try to heli rush. I wasn't heli rushed, but idea that heli rushing is issue in this game, I just don't see it, because yes, the helis are cheap and they are really strong. Like 80 points for Apache, like compared to like this infantry, like it's crazy cheap and it's really strong. Sure, but like you get one, and with Cobras you get two and like 60 points. Something like the Cobra with 80 gem, you get much more of them, but they are not very ideal for heli rushes because they are kind of expensive, and they die really easily. And also you have so much command, you need so much AA. It's much AA command are much cheaper, so I just don't see the heli rushes work too much. Like They definitely can work, but they are not gonna be as cheesy as in the war game because you need to be more careful with them. You need to actually support them with other units to drop the infantry and uh, yeah, you cannot just spam them. As at least I didn't see it work. It didn't work for me. So there is one big issue with helicopters right now, and that is their optics. Actually, give me a moment. I just gonna turn out the most of audio. Oh yeah, ambient volume. I don't know. I just kinda annoyed by it. There is a lot of like sounds in the game which are too loud or too annoying. Hopefully they get fixed. Yeah, this was annoying. All right, so biggest problem with helicopters is that they are kind of very good at spotting hidden infantry, and this makes them really excellent at kind of anti-partisan, to just kind of patrol your forests and behind your lines and just totally kill any infantry which try to sneak behind it. They are a little bit too effective at just fire support. So some buff should be, I mean, nerfs should be placed on them. I think they should not be able to see the infantry in the forest or in the buildings. Maybe even the recon choppers shouldn't be able to see them. Like I don't think it's realistic, but from the gameplay perspective, and I always care about the gameplay perspective more than realism. It just yeah, it just doesn't have good impact on the gameplay. So and it also would solve any potential heli rush problem because if you just get infantry command units on your spawn, the helis cannot touch it unless they like drop infantry and then it's not really heli rush. Then it's like a legitimate strategy which is not really cheesy. So yeah, let's go to the air tab. AirTap works right now pretty well, but the bombers are just too weak. They are just not really effective, and I hate bombers. I think the lot of times they have really bad impact on the game balance. But I think they were pretty good in the Steel Division, and like their balance was pretty good. Like they were definitely nerfed from the war game. I mean, Red Dragon, but they were not really tools for killing. There were tools on the for suppression and damaging. Obviously, you could like kill units with them, but it was pretty well balanced. Right now, they are a little bit too weak, so yeah, they should be made a little bit stronger. Yeah, that's my opinion about unit balancing. But let's talk about divisions. I personally like division system from the competitive point of view, but also I a lot of times play really like crazy games when I try to like recreate decks from other games or start playing this kind of uh, mode with my friend when we s- get decks together and we just use like 15 deployment activation points. Then we play against each other, and another game we add five more, and so on. And basically, it was kind of arm race when we like trying to like read enemies deck composition and their tactics and develop our deck and tactics against our opponent. And this would be really cool So there is a lot of reasons why having like general deck when you can take any units would be really cool. I would suggest let's make possibility to like mix all the units, but like general deck, but it's not competitive. It's not really viable deck for a competitive play. Maybe it has just like 35 activation points, 40, something like that. And like so players still like play with the because this thing I think exists for the competitive play. You can maybe say that it's also for realism, but it's mostly for uh, to make competitive play more interesting. And if these decks would be if the general decks would be really weak, nobody would use them for the competitive play. So you could have your cake and eat it too. So that would be good. Uh, right now there are two decks. Both are very similar, American and Russian, and American one is definitely more interesting. There is more variety in it. Uh, Russian one, not so much. Like American, like there is a lot of you can like there are some infantry you will take all the time, like these mechanized rifles. But you have some choices with transport. Also, you have interesting choices if you want to take like these guys which are just 6-man squad but with the Bradley, or these guys which are 10-man squad. They are much better infantry unit, but they don't have any Bradley, but they are cheaper. Then there is also variety in the helicopters with recon, a little bit with tanks and arty. I kind of find two ways to play American deck. You either focus your deck around the cheap infantry, and then you probably gonna more and just play a little bit slower. Probably gonna get artillery, which is like more conventional, and AA helicopters, which are more focused on supporting infantry. Or you're gonna build your tank around tanks. You're gonna take much more tanks. Infantry, you still want to get some really cheap ones, but you're probably gonna take really elite infantry with the Bradleys or with the APCs, so you can like support your armor and really focus on your pushes. And then also your helicopters would probably gonna be more expensive ones to focusing on the supporting your armor. Also, you would adjust your air for that. So American deck is really good this division, and if every other division in game gonna be like this, that like you can like find your own playstyles with it while still have a certain identity which people can like expect uh, know what to expect when you play it. Your opponents like can make like interesting choices based around your division. Like they see that like there are strong tanks. So and like this division always, no matter what your playstyle is, you're gonna always have strong tanks. You might be not gonna base your strategy around it, but they will be always there. So enemies can like make adjustments to that. But when it comes to a Russian deck, yeah, excuse this sound, like they need to tone it down or remove it. A Russian deck, like you basically always taking this infantry and then these water shell key with the BMP2s. There is no really choice here. All these things are the same, they just do more damage or have more armor. A recon tab is pretty interesting. There is not as much variety, but it's Russians really excel and kind of reconnaissance and sabotage behind the enemy lines. And that deck is definitely really ideal for like blitzkrieg type of tactics when you send your recon behind enemy lines, get information, soften up enemy units, and then He usually just spam a Motostrelky with BMP2s because there are Motostrelky are a pretty weak unit, but with BMP2, they are very cheap and very versatile fighting force. So so they're very kind of spammable and quick if you just want to like exploit the hole in enemy lines or some weakness in enemy line. You know, in the game you could actually see me doing it at the beginning, but it was a little bit risky push, so my units got destroyed. But I think they actually did kill some things in that game, but I was too busy talking about it. But yeah, this deck doesn't have as much variety, and that's kind of disappointing. Hopefully, another division gonna be more interesting. All right. God damn it, I start to ramble quite a lot, but there are still things I want to really talk about. Um, Give me a moment. Yeah, let's jump into the. I'm gonna show you. This is probably the best map. I'm not gonna even play, but just gonna talk a little bit about the map. Let's talk about more of like issues with this game right now. I think the gameplay is solid, and even right now it might be my favorite one. Unit balancing needed some touches, but there are still pretty big issues. I really hope it's not gonna crash now. The game crashed to me like once in the normal game. When I was like messing around, it crashed more with settings as such, but I don't have too much issues with that. Okay, so I just gotta start talking about problems. Right now, games are too short, and this is end of part one. See you in part two.